What's up, everybody? I'm whopping long COVID. Today we're going to talk about the vagus nerve and vagal nerve stimulation. What the vagus nerve is this giant nerve that runs down the side of your neck and into your abdomen. And it controls pretty much, it is the largest controlling factor of your parasympathetic nervous system. So it's what manages your digestion, it manages your heart rate, it manages your breathing, it manages your HRV. All of those things are controlled by the vagus nerve. And so we know that this has a large impact on the way that the body's functioned. It has been used a lot in Eastern type of medicine and Eastern philosophy for a long time. We started studying it medically, 10, 15 years ago for various things. And then when long COVID came out, we thought there might be some use there. And there's a number of studies going on as we speak around managing the vagal nerve more effectively and how it can help. Now, we talked a little bit about how all of my therapies and protocols fall into pretty much two categories. One is address root cause, and the second is address symptoms. In the case of vagal nerve stimulation, it's a little bit of both, and here's why. One theory in long COVID research is that the virus cells themselves attack the vagus nerve. And because of that, then the vagus nerve becomes inflamed, and then your utilization of that diminishes. So if we can decrease inflammation in the vagus nerve, then in theory that should address part of the root cause. Now there's a couple other things that occur, which is that the vagus nerve also controls the inflammatory system for your body. So if it's compromised, it also is doing less to fight inflammation everywhere else. So by addressing the root cause, it should also then reduce inflammation. I think they're called chitokines that get produced to go fight inflammation. Your body doesn't recognize inflammation correctly, and so it's just in this constant state of, I don't know what to do, I think I'm inflamed. So we're gonna wanna try to stimulate the vagus nerve. We're gonna try to tone it. It's just like anything else, if you use it and you take care of it, it's gonna function a lot better than if you just leave it alone. And so there's lots of different ways that you can kind of reset or reboot your vagus nerve or calm it down that are non-interventional. Cold therapy is one. I do a lot of cold therapy. Meditation is one. Deep breathing exercises, even pacing, believe it or not. I'm going to do a video on pacing coming up at some point because it's interesting how something that's that simple can have such a profound effect potentially on your symptoms. So those are the kind of external modalities. The other modality that you can do is you can fucking zap it. You can send electricity into it. And there's pretty much three ways you could do it. You can send electricity into the neck, you can send it behind the ear, or you can surgically implant a device in your body that will then emit pulses of electricity. Similar to those, like if you ever had to go to physical therapy and they put the little electrical stimulators on your muscles to make them twitch. It's kind of like doing that, but it's doing it for your nervous system. And so I elected to do the neck model. I use a device that's called a Pulsetto. It looks like a little dog collar. You'll see that it's on right now because I turned it on prior to this because I have to use my phone for both video and this. So this is running right now. Inside it, you'll see there's a couple of electrodes. Those electrodes are gonna go on the side of my neck. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply a little bit of like electroconducive gel to the electrodes on both sides. I'm just kind of coating the electrodes with gel. And I'm wiping the debris off on my shorts. Anne's gonna love that. And then we put the thing on, and then it just basically sits there and it goes shock, 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 shock. And the device comes with an app that controls the different frequencies, the different intensities, and then there's different programs that you can run depending on whether or not you're trying to do this for pain or for anxiety. There's actually a ton of uses for vagal nerve stimulation that have nothing to do with long COVID. So if you're experiencing sort of chronic health issues, you might want to go check it out and educate yourself on it. The good thing about this is there's no real side effects. There's no downside to doing it. You can kind of do it as much as you want. What I find is that for me, if I do it for about 20 minutes, I notice a benefit more so than if I do it for like 5 or 10. So I tend to try to, find time when I can do a full 20-minute episode. And I can, my goal potentially would be 2 to 3 a day. I don't always get to it because I'm doing all this other shit. But it's relatively easy to do. You can see I'm doing it while I'm talking to you. I throw it on sometimes if I have to do something on my computer. I can sit there and do it. I can do it while I'm watching TV. I absolutely notice a difference afterwards. I tend to be just kind of calmer and looser and more of in a neutral state. So I spend most of my day sort of in this really heightened state of kind of pain and frenzy and misery. And what I want to do is I want to kind of get back to neutral. And I definitely notice that when I do this, it brings me back to more of that neutral state where I'm just sort of like chill. I'm not overly rested, but I'm not overly amped. I'm just chill. So I'm a believer of this. It'll be interesting to see what the studies say. I'm going to continue to do this for, as long as I feel like I need to. So check it out. By the way, though I use the Pulsetto device, I'm not necessarily advocating for any specific solution. This is just the one that I selected. But there's other ways to do it. Like I said, the ear, going the surgical route seems to be a bit of overkill. So that's kind of why I settled on the Pulsetto. Anyways, with that, I'll catch you all later. We'll keep kicking along COVID's ass.